Noah, 27, lived a quiet life in a small coastal town where the relentless rhythm of the waves seemed to cradle his days. The salty air clung to his old Jeep as it rattled down familiar roads, and the diner on Main Street served his usual black coffee, 2 eggs, toast, without him needing to ask. A graphic designer at a local ad agency, Noah's life was steady, unremarkable but enough. Weekends meant hikes through pine-scented trails or a cold beer at the pier, the horizon stretching wide and forgiving. Born and raised here, he was woven into the town's fabric. Neighbors who'd known him since he was a boy, their yards cluttered with swing sets and pickup trucks. Contentment felt like enough. Until Claire. Claire was a spark reignited from a half-forgotten past. They'd been high school classmates, worlds apart back then. She was the sun at the center of bonfires and school dances, her laughter a melody that drew everyone in. Noah was the shadow in the corner, sketching quietly, unnoticed. 2 years ago, fate nudged them together in the town's only bookstore, both reaching for a dog-eared poetry collection. Their fingers brushed, and a conversation bloomed, one that spilled into late-night talks, then coffee dates, then a love that felt like waking up. Within 2 years, they were engaged. Claire's warmth thawing parts of Noah he hadn't known were frozen. "You make everything make sense," he told her one evening, their footsteps soft on the beach, her hand anchoring his. Her head rested against his arm, and she whispered, "Same." The word was a vow, fragile and perfect. Claire's family seemed like a postcard of stability. Her mother, Ellen, carried a quiet elegance, her silver-streaked hair framing a face that held stories. A former literature professor who'd taught Noah in high school, Ellen had a way of seeing him, really seeing him. She'd ask about his sketches, recommend novels that felt like gifts, her voice soft but deliberate. When Noah and Claire started dating, Ellen welcomed him with open arms, pulling him into brief, thoughtful conversations that felt like stepping back into a safer past. She was magnetic, her steady gaze and measured words making time slow, as if the world paused to listen. One evening, after a family barbecue, fireflies danced in the dusk as Ellen sat with Noah on the porch. "Claire's lucky to have you," she said, her voice warm, her eyes tracing the horizon. The words sank into Noah, heavy with something he couldn't name. He nodded, but her gaze lingered in his chest long after the night faded, a quiet ache he didn't yet understand. That moment was the first crack in the foundation. Ellen's kindness, her attentive silences, began to weave into Noah's thoughts, threading through his days like a melody he couldn't shake. It wasn't love, not yet, but a pull, magnetic and disorienting, that made his heart stutter. He told himself it was gratitude, nothing more. Claire's family dinners, filled with laughter and clinking glasses, only deepened the illusion of perfection. Ellen and her husband, David, played their parts well, hosts of a life that seemed unshakable. But one rainy afternoon, Ellen's call shattered that facade. "Can we talk?" Her voice was softer than usual, frayed at the edges. They met at a quiet cafe on the edge of town, far from familiar faces. Ellen, wrapped in a gray scarf, her face bare of makeup, looked like she hadn't slept. "David and I have been separated for years," she confessed, her fingers tracing the rim of her untouched tea. "We keep it quiet for Claire." Noah's breath caught. He pictured David at the last dinner, joking with Claire's cousins, his smile easy and false. "Why tell me?" Noah asked, his voice barely steady. Ellen's eyes met his, heavy with a trust that felt like a weight. "Because you're family now. I needed you to know." The words landed like a stone in still water, rippling through him. Her vulnerability made him feel needed, seen in a way that stirred something deep and dangerous. Their connection grew in stolen moments, texts about books, a shared memory of a poem from class, small exchanges that felt innocent but carried the weight of secrets. One night, while Claire was out with friends, Ellen's message lit up Noah's phone. "Rereading Neruda tonight. It reminds me of you." His heart raced, a mix of thrill and dread. Feels like we're in the same world sometimes, he typed back, the words feeling like a step across a line he hadn't seen. He sent it anyway, his chest tight with the knowledge that he'd crossed into something he couldn't uncross. Then came Sarah, Claire's childhood friend, who blew back into town like a storm. With her sharp wit and cropped black hair, Sarah was a photographer who'd left for the city but returned for visits. Her presence as familiar to Claire as her own shadow. Sarah saw everything. She noticed the way Noah's eyes lingered when Ellen spoke, the way Ellen's hand brushed his arm when passing a drink. At a casual lunch, Sarah cornered Noah in the kitchen, her voice low but sharp. "You're awfully close with Ellen," she said, her eyes searching his. Noah's throat tightened. "She was my teacher. We just talk." Sarah's smile was a blade. Talk can mean a lot of things. A week later, Sarah invited Noah for coffee, her tone casual but her intent clear. At the cafe, she slid her phone across the table, a photo of Noah and Ellen at their secret meeting, heads bent close, lost in a world of their own. "A friend took this," she said, her voice steady. "It looks like more than talk." Noah's stomach plummeted, his pulse hammering in his ears. "She was just telling me about her divorce," he said, but the words felt thin, unconvincing even to himself. Sarah leaned forward, her gaze unrelenting. "Claire's my family. If you're crossing a line, stop now." Her warning hung in the air, thick and suffocating that Noah's nights grew restless, his sleep fractured by guilt and longing. Ellen's messages, once a comfort, now felt like chains. Claire's trusting smiles sliced deeper than any accusation, each one a reminder of what he was risking. At work, his friend Marcus, a gruff but kind coworker, noticed Noah's distraction over beers after a long day. Noah spilled fragments of the truth. Ellen's loneliness, Sarah's suspicions, the pull he couldn't shake. Marcus listened, his face hardening. "You're playing with fire, man," he said. "You think you're helping Ellen, but what do you want from this?" Noah stared at his drink, the question cutting to the bone. "She makes me feel like I matter," he admitted, the words tasting like betrayal. Marcus sighed. "That feeling's a trap. You got Claire. Don't lose her chasing something you can't have." Then there was Lily, the barista at the cafe Noah escaped to when the world felt too heavy. Her quiet presence was a balm, her calm like a pause in the storm. One slow afternoon, as Noah sat lost in thought, Lily set a coffee in front of him. "You look like you're carrying the world," she said, her voice gentle. They talked, and Noah found himself asking, "Ever made a mistake you couldn't undo?" Lily's eyes softened, shadowed with her own ghosts. "I fell for my best friend's fiancée once," she said. "Didn't act on it, but I didn't stop it either. Lost them both." The honesty hit Noah like a wave. "How do you move on?" he asked, his voice raw. "You don't," she said. "You just choose to be better." Her words lodged in his chest, a quiet truth he wasn't ready to face. The tipping point came one evening when Claire was out with friends. Noah drove to Ellen's house, uninvited, his heart pounding with a mix of fear and need. She opened the door, surprise flickering in her eyes, but she let him in. They sat on the couch, the air thick with unspoken words. Their hands brushed, then lingered, the space between them shrinking until Noah leaned in. Their lips met, a hesitant, forbidden kiss that burned with everything they tried to suppress. It was a moment of reckless surrender, a fleeting taste of something that felt like salvation and ruin all at once. They pulled back, breathless, but the damage was done. Ellen whispered, "We can't," her voice trembling, but her eyes begged him to stay. Claire came home early that night. Noah's phone lay on the counter, a message from Ellen glowing like a confession. "I'm still reeling from tonight." Claire scrolled through their texts, each word a dagger to her heart. The next morning, she faced Noah, her voice steady but cold as ice. "What were you doing with my mom?" Noah stammered. "We just talked," but the lie crumbled under her gaze. "Talk doesn't leave you reeling at midnight," she said, her eyes glistening with betrayal. She packed a bag and left for Sarah's, her parting words cutting deep. "Don't follow me." Days later, Noah met Ellen at the cafe, the weight of their choices heavy between them. They sat in silence until she spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. "We thought we could keep this small, but it's not." Noah nodded, his throat tight. "I'm saying goodbye, Ellen," he said, the words tearing at him. "For Claire." She squeezed his hand, her touch a fleeting anchor, then left without a word. Across the street, Claire watched from Sarah's car, tears streaming down her face as she saw them part. She stepped out, facing Noah in the rain. "Did you think this wouldn't hurt?" she asked, her voice breaking. Noah's chest ached, his voice barely audible. "I didn't want to lose you." Claire shook her head, rain mingling with her tears. "I don't hate you, Noah, but I can't love you anymore." She turned and walked away, her figure fading into the storm. Noah drove out of town that night, the road blurring through the rain. The cafe's lights faded in his rearview mirror, Lily's silhouette a quiet sentinel at the door. Some wounds don't heal. They just teach you to live differently. Noah's story isn't just about forbidden love. It's about the cost of chasing a fleeting feeling, the devastation of betraying trust, and the courage to face the truth when everything you thought you knew falls apart.